Stephen Hawking did a class said, the meaning of everything. And by the time he finally shut up, I knew less. Sorry, I should be respectful. He's a good man. He's wise. He's dead. But he's a wise man. But he's a dude who didn't know the meaning of anything because he overlooked everything. He spoke like he knew everything. And the problem is you can get in front of yourself. You can't see the forest for the trees. There's a big old pine right in front of you and you can't see anything beyond that. And he was stuck on the fact that there cannot be a God. And he just couldn't look past that log. There can't be a God. But I'm going to tell you the meaning of everything. Well, no more did he tell me the meaning of anything than I'm about to tell you the price of everything. But I'm going to tell you the price of some things. For everything, there is a cost. For us doing this service this morning, 25 people had to give up their time to make this service happen. There's a cost. You know what? I woke up the other day and I started thinking about the wonderful things that God does. And I started praying to God. I said, you know what? So far, I've done everything right. I haven't said any bad things. I haven't cut anybody off in traffic. I haven't been greedy, grumpy, grouchy. But I'm about to get out of bed. And after that, I'm going to need a lot of help. And that's the way it is all too often. But I want to encourage you today to understand the price of everything. In order to understand the price of everything, you have to understand the price of one thing. And we'll get to that. But for everything that is taken, something must be paid. Nothing is free. To gain intelligence, you must give up ignorance. To gain love, you must give up hate. To gain a Big Mac, you must give up $9. This one says $7.79, but it's actually $9. Everything costs something. Now, if I leave this on the screen long enough, some of you will go have a Big Mac for lunch. The reason why I know that is I'm not a fish fan, and the first fillet of fish I ever had in my life, I was in grade 10 sitting in Forest Lawn High, and they had a picture of a fillet of fish hanging on the board. And I was taking my final exam, and I'm writing my final exam, and I see that fillet of fish. And I went and bought me a fillet of fish. Now, why would a guy who doesn't like fish go and buy a fish sandwich that only has half a slice of cheese? Like, really? You couldn't afford to put a whole slice of cheese on a fillet of fish, but they don't. But I ate it. So if I leave that there too long, you all get me thinking about Big Macs instead of what I'm talking about. But everything has a cost. Nothing in life is free. Now, some people argue, well, here in Canada, we get lots of stuff for free. We get education for free. We get health care for free. I need you to understand, 33% of every tax dollar you pay covers those two items. 1/3 of every tax dollar covers those items. If you got kids or not, if you eat veggies and salads, or if you just eat fat, it's the same price. You pay the same price for health care here in Canada. We think it's free, but nothing is free. Let's look at some real costs. This is based upon yesterday's numbers. I saw today the gas was $1.19. But yesterday, a liter of milk will cost you $2.15. 12 eggs is $3.87. A kilogram of tomatoes, $3.83. Monthly rent is averaged out at $1,836. That's for a 900 square foot house furnished here in Calgary. Utilities, same house, $276. Internet, $8. I'm not sure what the MBPS means. I think it's like major boogie party syndrome or something, but I'm not sure. Levi's 501 jeans. I know Corey won't wear those, but I happen to have those. $79. A dress from Zara or H&M, $56. Nike and Adidas shoes, $106. Corey can confirm that one. Transportation, a liter of unleaded gas yesterday was $1.18. Now that number fluctuates dramatically. A bus pass, $106. A taxi fare, getting in the cab and then driving 8 kilometers, $20. 2 movies is $30 at Costco, but you get popcorn and 2 Cokes. Cappuccino's $5.34. And again, at Costco, the iPad Wi-Fi 128 gigabyte is $611. There's the price of some things. Now, there's also arbitrary numbers. The Breitling on the left is $33,395. The Breitling on the right is $162.52. Now, the Breitling on the left feels, why are you putting me on the same screen as the Breitling on the right? But really, both watches can do an amazing thing, which is tell you what time it is. Now, the Breitling on the left thinks he's more important than the Breitling on the right. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But these are yesterday's prices. But really, if you own the Breitling on the left, you're going to feel a little bit better about yourself than if you own the Breitling on the right. I have a Bolex at home that I paid $50 for under a bridge in New York City. And the guy had a whole bunch of Bolexes, and I bought the one that I liked the most. It was a $5,500 real cost, but the Bolex today was $50 to me. I have worn that Bolex a number of 0 times because every time I look at my Bolex, it's a fraud. And I look at my fraud and I say, you know what, I can't put the fraud on. I was going to even wear it this morning to show you my Bolex, but it's a fraud and I don't know. I just couldn't. So I threw $50 on the ground in New York City is what I actually did because I can't wear my Bolex. Today we're celebrating Easter. Easter as well has a price. I'm not talking about the chocolate bunnies. I'm not talking about the Easter egg hunts. Everybody understands the price that was paid on Good Friday all those years ago. Jesus paid the ultimate price for us that we could have salvation. But 700 years before Jesus paid the price, God already outlined what Jesus was going to pay. This was not a brash decision that God left to chance. He said, I'm just going to let them do what they want with my son. He spelled it out for him. I'll take the Bolex sign off there so you don't got to see there. I didn't want to write the whole chapter of Isaiah 53 because my typing skills I'd still be typing. So I'm going to just read it to you. 700 years before Christ, Isaiah writes in Isaiah 53, he'll be despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. He was wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray and have turned every one to his own way. The Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who will declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. The transgressions of my people he was stricken. They made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had no violence, nor was there any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death. He was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. This was the biggest purchase in the history of everything. God created us. God created me. And I foolishly sold myself into sin. So I didn't belong to me. If ever you want to see if your kid belongs to himself, take him to Disneyland, let him run around. You find it really quick who that kid belongs to. The mom losing her marbles in the corner, that's who that kid belongs to. My kid got lost 5 times at Disneyland. I'm well versed in what a panicked mom looks like when your kid disappears at Disneyland. You find out really quickly who the kid belongs to. But if my kid sold himself to someone else, what would I be prepared to give to get my kid back? And we find this out. 700 years before Christ died, God already said, this is the ransom I'm going to pay to get my children back. I know my child did this on his own. I know my child foolishly sold himself. But this is what I'm going to pay. Jesus sat on the throne beside God 700 years, knowing what he was going to do after being born of a virgin in Bethlehem. I don't think he was looking forward to that day, saying, this is going to be awesome. I get to go be born into earth, live a much inferior life than I have been living, eat food that tastes like it was cooked over dung, because it probably was. This is going to be great. But he did it. And it says in Hebrews 12 that for the joy of it all, he endured the cross. He knew what he was going to do. He knew the result. And because he knew the result, and Hebrews 12, it says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. If you go back to Isaiah 53 in verse 11, it says, he shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. 700 years before, it said he will see it. He's going to know what he gets for giving his life for us. And he'll be satisfied. And then in Hebrews 12:2, it says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. I'm so grateful for what he did for me. This is a shorter verse, so I could write this one. For it's by grace you've been saved through faith. This is not of yourselves. It's a gift of God, not by works, that no one can boast. Salvation is a free gift. Salvation had a huge cost. But if it was not anything other than a free gift, I would start bragging about what I did for myself. Look what I did. I'm the man. I saved me. It had to be a free gift. And to understand this, a lot of people, they get caught up in the fact, well, what did I got to do to be saved? You just got to believe. You just got to accept it. I'm sure you've all seen this picture before. It's a picture of the Sistine Chapel. When you go to the Sistine Chapel, you're going to walk through the Vatican, and you're going to walk through the Vatican, and you're going to walk through the Vatican, and finally, when you're about to die because you've walked too far, you get to this room. And the funny thing is, it's backwards. The whole walk through the Vatican, all the pictures are facing the wrong way. Because you're supposed to start at the Sistine Chapel and walk through the Vatican. And then you'd see all the pictures correctly. But they want you to walk through the Vatican. So you go backwards and you see all the heads here and the feet are over there. So you're always doing this as you're walking. You're getting a sore neck. But anyway, long story longer, you finally get to the Sistine Chapel. Now, I consider myself an artist. So when I got to the Sistine Chapel, I asked anybody if they had a Sharpie because I wanted to touch up a few things on the painting here. But nobody thought that was a good idea. Not one person thought that any addition I could make to this will be an addition. Everybody thought it'd be a subtraction. Even Bob Ross was not allowed to go and paint some little evergreen trees in a corner. Because we think this is good enough. We think this painting is a masterpiece. Every addition I try and do is actually a subtraction. And everybody since Michelangelo would be detracting from this painting. Even Raphael, had Raphael painted on here, it would have been a takeaway from what Michelangelo did. We've accepted this for what it is. What Christ did was enough. He doesn't need my help. He doesn't need me to touch up a few corners. What Christ did for me was enough. The price he paid for me was enough. It's enough for you. This is a beautiful thing to look at. But when you're understanding what Christ did for us, this pales. So many people can't understand that God would send his son. And they think, you know what? Jesus was probably a good man. You know, in churches today, possibly in this church, people believe that Jesus was a good man, but they don't see him as the Son of God. They cannot see Jesus as the Son of God. Because how could a good God send his son to pay this price? Now, I want to I want to just draw a parallel picture for you if I could. If me and you grew up together, you became a judge, I became a criminal. And I murdered people, and I beat people up, and I did awful things to people. And finally one day, you're sitting in your robes up at your desk, you got that big hammer in your hand, and here through the back door, in shackles and chains, comes me. What would the people think if you said, oh, he's a good friend of mine, I'm going to cut him loose? There wouldn't be any justice. But he's my buddy. He wouldn't have done that. No, but he did. He admitted it. No, I'm going to cut him loose. We wouldn't look at that and say justice was done. God did not send Jesus to the cross. 700 years before it happened, Jesus knew the price. And Jesus paid the bill. For the joy of what we were going to bring to him, he endured the cross. Why did he cry out, why have you forsaken me? Because for all eternity, him and God had been like that. Forever, him and God had been like that. Side by side, hand in hand. Him and God had never been separated in eternity. Not since the beginning, since forever. There was no beginning. Since forever, Jesus and God have always been like that. This was the first time in eternity Jesus was separated from God. He's hanging on a cross, pierced through, his hands, his feet, beaten on his back, unrecognizable. I might cry out too. And Jesus' big concern was, do not hold this against them. And his biggest concern was not the pain of bleeding out. It was, why have you forsaken me? Because for all eternity, they had been together. That was Jesus' hell. Understanding that he was separated from God for the first time in eternity. We may not deserve what Jesus did. But we didn't deserve what these guys did either. There are men and women who went and fought and bled and died so we could sit in church today, so we could vote on Tuesday, so we could pay $1.18 for our fuel. These men and women died. They didn't have 700 years notice that they were going to go die. They just went and did what they had to do. And as Canadians, we can accept their sacrifice for us. We're not angry at Trudeau or Diefenbaker or whoever sent these gentlemen and these ladies off to die. We're not angry at them. We understand there's a cost to be paid. And these people paid that cost. And I'm so grateful for what they did. I'm allowed to stand here without a short little mustache because they paid this cost. I'm so grateful. Easter is not a time to be sad and say, but God, why would you? It's time to celebrate. We celebrate what these people did for us. I can also celebrate what this guy did for me. I'm going to finish with a story that I'm sure you've heard. But I'm going to tell you the story again anyway. The story is of a man, a very wealthy man and his son. And the mother had passed away. And the son and the father got together and they started collecting art. And they collected some of those Raphaels and those Van Goghs. And they loved looking at the art. And every day they'd look at their art and they would marvel at how beautiful the master's touch was on these pieces. Well, war breaks out and the son was called off to fight. While the son was at war, the son was killed in line of duty. News came back to the father and he grieved tremendously because he'd lost his son. A couple of months later, there's a knock at the door. He goes and gets the door, and here's a young gentleman with a package in his hand. And he goes, you don't know me, but I'm the soldier that your son was saving when he was shot. But before he died, we had spent many nights talking about you and your love of art. Now, I'm not a great artist, but I have painted this picture, and I'd like you to have it. They unwrapped the picture, and it's a portrait of his son. And he remembers looking at the portrait and seeing how clear the eyes were, how stunningly accurate the eyes were. So he went to his gallery in the most prominent place. He took down the Rembrandt, and he hung his son in the most prominent place. And he made room for the son. And every day when people would come to his home, he would show them the picture of his son. When they wanted to see the Rembrandts, he would first show them the picture of the son because he loved his son. Now, sometime later, the man dies. Because there's no one to leave anything to, there's an auction. So the auction is going to be held, and everybody gathers at the auction. And they all want the Van Goghs, the Rembrandts, Raphaels. They want the piece of real art. And on the front is a picture of the son. And the auctioneer says, this is the painting that had the most value to the man, so we're going to sell this painting first. Who will give me $1,000? And there's silence. Who will give me $500? Someone from the back screams, we want the Van Goghs. He goes, please respect how this is going to go. Who will give me $100 for the son? We want the Rembrandts. Finally, in the back, a gentleman puts his hand up. He was the gardener. He attended the garden for the father and son for many years. He says, all I got is $20, but I'll give $20 for the son. Sell the guy the son. Going once, will someone give me $50? Going twice, will someone give me $25? Sold. And the gentleman comes up and takes his picture of the son. Now everybody in the room is excited because now we're going to see the Van Goghs, the Rembrandts. The auctioneer starts folding up his portfolio, so that concludes the auction. Because I was given strict instructions that whoever takes the son takes it all. The price of everything was paid for by the son. No greater price is there than a man laid down his life for his friend. But I wasn't his friend when he laid down his life. I wasn't even a sparkle in my daddy's eye when he laid down his life. I was an enemy of Jesus Christ when he laid down his life. Because just like Adam, I sold myself into sin. And sin and light don't hang out together. Jesus and sin don't hang out together. But Jesus chose to. And he paid the price for me. I can accept the price that those Canadian soldiers have paid for me. Surely I can accept the price of what Jesus paid for me. The price of everything has been paid. I want to encourage you to now enter in to the benefits of what that price holds. Because when you understand the value of you, you understand the price that was paid. See, I love you guys, but I wouldn't trade my son for you. I'm not trying to be mean. I wouldn't trade my son for you. It'd be a tremendous sacrifice for me to take one of my grandchildren and say, you can have this one because I want Trevor. The price has been paid, Trevor. That's your value. When we understand that, Mert, I'll trade Addie, my oldest granddaughter, for you. Corey, I'll trade Megan straight up. Do you understand what I'm saying? The price of everything has been paid. We are the beneficiaries. We are the ones who get to enter into the joy. The same way Jesus, for joy, counted it. He endured the cross. He had 700 years, notice. And when the bell rung, he was ready to go. Let's pray. Father, I thank you so much for the price that was paid for me, for the price that was paid for us. I think there's nothing we can do to improve this picture. There's nothing we can do to make this a better deal except to accept this deal, that you laid down your life for us. We're so grateful for that we can be cleansed of sin, cleansed of unrighteousness, healed blessed and walk in the benefits of what being a child of God is. We thank you so much for that. Now, if you've never accepted Jesus as your Savior, but you want to do that today, I want to pray with you. Just put your hand up real quick, and we're going to pray really quick. Can everybody pray this prayer with me? Please pray it out loud. Dear God, I thank you for the price that was paid for me. I accept this price. And I thank you that you view me as that valuable. Thank you for salvation, for forgiveness of sins. And I know that if I was to die tonight, I'd spend eternity with you. Thank you for Easter and all its meanings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for taking time to listen to today's message. If you are encouraged or challenged by what you heard today, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your story to mystory@jubileecalgary.com. You can also invest in the lives of others by partnering with us financially. Your gift can impact many as God works through your generosity to help us continue sharing this message with others. Donations can be given online at jubileecalgary.com/give. Your feedback and giving are truly appreciated.